Alright, what's up guys? So this video is going to actually kind of be like a combination of the part 4 to the motor build and then also the PCV video for the N54. So a lot of people have been asking me for this video, so this is finally going to be it. I'm going to be installing the full kit and setup and then show you guys how to do it and then the reasoning behind the switch and why I'm going to be running this way instead. So the first part, so this is all from Burger Motorsports. They actually hooked me up with the high side and low side catch cans. So shout out to them for helping me out with this. And then I'm going to be showing you guys how to install it here. So this is the high side kit. So what it comes with is this fitting here. You'll have to buy this hose separately. If you break yours, you'll have this one. This is just the PCV flapper, so you'll have this already. I had to buy a new one because I got rid of mine. So it comes with this fitting here to connect to the flapper valve, the stock flapper. And then you get a piece of hose and then this hose as well, which we won't be using this one, but I'll explain how you would use that. And it comes with the bracket to go onto the bracket in the car. So what you want to do is, this doesn't come connected, you want to push this fitting into here. And then a lot of people already have this connected to their valve cover, so this is the one that connects right under here. So you're gonna wanna, in my case, snake this back under, connect that in there, and then that'll sit just like that underneath or right next to the intake manifold. And then we're gonna connect that other piece up to that. All right, so this is what it looks like once you get it in. I had to kind of spray mine with some silicone spray a little bit because it was kind of tough to slide that piece on. But, so you'll have the stock PCV flapper connected to that flange that they send you, connected to this tube here, and then that'll go directly into the import on the catch can. So you'll see here, one's labeled in, one's labeled out. So you'll connect that right to the in, and then I'm gonna connect that up to the V-brace. All right, so silicone spray will definitely be your friend here. But this is what it looks like all together. So again, we have the PCV stock flapper connected to the Burger Motorsports flange for the high side, and then into the import on this catch can. So then I have mine kind of angled and showing there like that. I didn't really find that it fit too well on these two because it bumps up to the bar here. So I just used the one screw hole right here. Got it angled perfectly and it doesn't look too bad. So then we're gonna be putting the low side can right here. So high side is done, pretty easy. Now we'll work on getting the low side in. All right, so starting on the low side, I found it easiest to remove the cylinder 6 fuel injector line. So on the stock valve cover, you're gonna have something in here. I don't know the exact size of the wrench portion of it, but you're gonna wanna take that out. So you're just gonna unscrew it from this thing right here. And then once you get it unscrewed, you're gonna start to thread this one in. So this is a push lock fitting for a vacuum hose. So like I said, you're gonna take your stock one out, pull out the PCV valve, and then start to thread this one in. All right, so as you can see, ours is flush and fully threaded in. Be very careful when threading this in because it is plastic and it'll probably break. So just go until it stops. You don't have to make it like super snug. Just keep tightening it until like you start to feel like it's pretty tight, and then it's flush. Once that O-ring is seated, you're good to go. All right, so then you're gonna wanna locate this vacuum flange here, and then you find this is like a little check valve. So that's this part here. This is the check valve. So you're gonna wanna thread that into one of the openings here. And then you thread our vacuum line fitting into that right here. And then you can just block off this one, unless you wanna run your blow-off valve off of this too, which you can. I am not, I'm running my blow-off valve off of the manifold. So I'm just blocking that off here. And then this will go right onto this fitting here. So that pushes on, and then it gives you a lock ring that you're gonna slide right over that, so that way it can't be pulled off. Alright, so I got that slid over. I'm not gonna lie, that was probably like one of the worst things I've ever done in my life. Do yourself a favor, once you get that C-clip on, never ever take that fitting off of the throttle body ever again, because it's never going back on. So, once you get that on, you can reconnect your main vacuum hose. This is like the fuel ventilation, I believe. So then you can stick that back there, and then that'll just connect right back onto here to give our vacuum again to that. And then this will stay here. So then all we have left to do is tighten these two fittings and connect them to the can. Then we're gonna run a vacuum line from here to the in port. So then we're gonna run this to the out port. So in and then out to the throttle body. Alright guys, so I last left off with showing you where we're going to be routing the vacuum lines for the low side can. So this is with it fully installed. So as you can see, if it'll focus, that's the in port right there. So that line is being ran all the way to the back of the valve cover, coming from that fitting in the valve cover there. So again, that's just the push lock fitting. And then we have the out port, so the right side of the catch can, coming right down into this fitting for the throttle body. So this can will collect oil significantly faster than the high side can because the motor is in vacuum like 90% of the time. The only time the high side catch can is going to be doing anything is when you're in boost and under load. So then that's when, you know, you'll want to keep the stock flapper there because that will regulate pressure in the valve cover. So then when that opens up, it'll run to the high side catch can. I'm probably gonna buy like a filter to put on here since we don't have a rear inlet anymore, but if you had a rear inlet you could just route it back to that. But like I said, this can will collect a lot of oil, so you're gonna want to check this one pretty frequently. So then to really complete this PCV setup to make it like 100% perfect, you're gonna want to also pull the valve cover off and plug the head ports. Since the motor is built now, John went ahead and did that for me while it was at the shop, so I didn't have to do that. There is a DIY link below that'll show you how to do that if you're doing it yourself, but that is an important step. That way it completely externalizes the PCV system and you no longer run the risk of like potentially blowing this part of the valve cover off, because those head ports will still leak pressure by. So the issue that I was having is that my turbo was blowing a lot of smoke. So there was a lot of blow by, because what I'm guessing is, you know, high RPM, high boost, as it's dumping a lot of oil, like there's a lot of oil pressure, it's dumping a lot of oil into the turbo, it can't drain that fast enough because there's no vacuum being pulled onto the crankcase. So all that oil is just kind of sitting there, and then it ends up getting, you know, past the seal and getting blown into the exhaust, and it burns oil. But now that we have this set up and it's pulling vacuum through the low side, the vacuum side, so through this port here, you know, it's actually pulling vacuum onto the crankcase, and we're going to get a lot better oil flow through the turbo. That's basically how I read it, or how I interpreted that information online. So this is going to be the way you're going to want to do it. This setup with your head ports tapped and blocked off, that's going to be the ultimate N54 PCV setup to basically just keep your motor running healthy, keep the valves clean. Obviously with port injection, that's going to help even more. There's not going to be any oil seeping through at all because we have those head ports blocked, and then with E85 being washed over the valves all the time, you know, that's also going to be a big help. So I figured I would finish this video off since the car is broken again. It made it a whole 100 miles before I realized there was a major problem. So classic N54 stuff, but that is going to be the full PCV video. Again, this is going to be the absolute best setup that you're going to want to run on an N54. The dual catch cans is the best way to do it. So yeah, I'll probably update what's wrong with the car in another video, but it's going to be down for a little bit. I'm going to try my best to have it running for next weekend because it's going to be really nice out, and it's going to be the first like hot weekend that I'll be able to take the car out and get some proper logs and some wastegate boost. So I will include this clip in here just in case anybody out there knows what could be wrong, but I have the wastegates routed properly. The bottom ports are teeing into this boost reference here, which I have coming from the intake manifold, so it's coming up around here, and then it tees into this fitting right here, and then this line is coming from the bottom ports of the wastegate. This is from the manifold, and then this T part is going to port 1 on the max solenoid, and then I have my top ports from the wastegate teeing off and then coming to port 2. Obviously the third port is just vent to atmosphere. So the problem I'm having is the wastegates are still not opening. I have everything routed properly, but I'm getting to the point where it's like, you know, 4 or 5 pounds over wastegate, and they're still not opening at all. So it is overboosting. I haven't really figured out why. The only thing I did was change the spring rates. I put a little bit more pressure in them. So what I'm planning on doing right now, I ordered new diaphragms for them, as well as new clamps, and then I'm gonna do push lock fittings instead of just, you know, regular rubber hose. So I'm hoping, like, for some reason maybe I tore the diaphragms or something, but I'm gonna rebuild them just in case anyways, since I'm pulling them off. I'm gonna also go back down in spring pressure because the spring rate I have in them right now is way too high because I forgot the Doc Race manifold overboosts by about 2 to 3 pounds. So yeah, let me know if for some reason there's something I'm missing, but I can't really figure out why they would be overboosting. From what I can see, there's nothing wrong with them. I made sure not to pinch the diaphragms at all when we put the caps back on. The only thing I can think of is maybe like this line teeing off to the vacuum from the intake manifold is really long. It's about 6 to 7 feet of vacuum line going around there. So maybe that's causing like a really big delay in when the wastegates or the max solenoid sees the vacuum pressure. But that's really the only thing I can think of. I replaced the lines too, just in case like maybe one was leaking somewhere going from the T, but there's no leaks in these, and I tested it again and it was still, the wastegates just aren't opening for some reason. So I'm gonna pull them off, re-grease the stem, change the diaphragms. Hopefully that helps. But yeah, let me know if there's something else I'm missing or something else that I could try to fix it. And yeah, let me know in the comments.